Good evening, it's 6:30. I'm going to go ahead and call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for this evening. We do have a quorum present. And the first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the November 1st, 2022 joint meeting. If there are no additions or corrections, may I have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Motion by Karen.
Oops, sorry. I accidentally
That's
clicked.
okay.
Okay.
And that's all okay.
Yours.
I hadn't
Okay.
clicked.
Seconder? Alvin. Okay, second by Alvin. All right. Oh, yeah? Motion passes 5-0. The next item is a regular hearing. It's the final plat of Spectra Heights, lots 1 through 19, on 6.202 acres out of the L. Bourgeois Survey, abstract number 52, zone General Business District and Townhouse District, located on the west side of MacArthur Boulevard and north of Lewis Drive.
Good evening, Commissioners. Staff has reviewed the final plat for Spectra Heights and recommends disapproval for the listed deficiencies. Staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission disapprove the final plat of Spectra Heights for the deficiencies listed and delegate to staff the authority to accept and approve the plat once the listed deficiencies are corrected. The approved plat will be brought to the chair for signature.
Thanks, Joe. Commissioners, are there any questions for staff, discussion, concerns? If not, then may I have a motion, please?
I'd like to move to disapprove the final plat of Spectra Heights for the deficiencies listed and delegate to staff the authority to accept and approve the plat once the listed deficiencies are corrected.
Motion is by Robert,
Second.
second by Karen. Don't forget to use your button, guys. Vote now. Motion passes 5-0. The next item is a public hearing, and this is consideration of a zone change request from office district to duplex district on approximately .274 acres out of the E. Pickett Survey, abstract 1014, located at the northwest corner of Oakwood Lane and Bel Air Boulevard, as requested by Milan Harmla, the property owner.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is an undeveloped lot that's at the bend of Oakwood Lane where it meets Bel Air Boulevard. It is currently zoned office district, but it has never been developed. There is single-family residential zoned R75 immediately to the west of the property. To the north is a daycare, and to the east is a church. The applicant is looking to put a duplex on the property and is requesting the zone change from office district to duplex zoning district to achieve that goal. Based on the duplex zoning standards, he can fit one duplex there. He has provided a rough kind of conceptual sketch of how he might lay that out using the existing alley to have the access from the garage. Because there is an alley for access, that would be where he needs to have the vehicular access come from. Also, that bend is a little bit sharp and a little bit busy. Conceptually, the units would face towards Oakwood Lane, and this would be limited to 2 units. In the duplex district, he can do 2 units on one lot. He could potentially split it into 2 lots and do 2 single-family detached homes or 2 townhomes, but the duplex is his goal. And either way, the restrictions would keep it to a 2-dwelling unit density.
Okay.
So staff is recommending approval of this zone change request as we find it to be consistent with the Lewisville 2025 plan, big move of diverse and thriving neighborhoods.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Commissioners, any discussion, concerns, questions? Okay, at this time, I will go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come forward, sign in, state your name, and we'll be happy to hear from you.
We did receive just one public inquiry, neither for nor against, just curious about the request.
Okay, thank you. Okay, having no one come forward, I'll go ahead now and close the public hearing. And Commissioners, if there is no further discussion, may I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Alvin,
I will second.
second by Robert. Vote now. Vote passes 5-0.
Chairman Mixa, this item will go before the City Council on Monday, December the 19th, 2022, at 7:00 p.m. for a second public hearing and a final decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, the next item on the agenda is to adjourn the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Alvin,
I'll second.
second by Ryan. Vote now. Motion passes 5-0. We are adjourned. Next this evening, we have the meeting of the Overlay District Board. I will now call that board to order, and we do have a quorum present. And the first item on the agenda in this case is to approve the minutes of the October 4th, 2022 joint meeting. If there are no additions or corrections, may I have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Motion by Karen,
Second.
second by Alvin. Vote now. Okay. Not. Okay, it's not working. Are you able to vote? I'm not able to vote. All of a sudden.
Just need a magic touch.
Must be, you were holding your hand right. Motion, yeah, motion passes 5-0. The next item for the overlay board is consideration of 3 alternative standards associated with parking, windows, and driveways for public storage located at 1419 South Stemmons Freeway, as requested by Trey Braswell of Kimley Horn, on behalf of Jared Yates of Public Storage, the property owner.
Good evening, Commissioners, again. So 3 of the 4 existing buildings occupied by Public Storage were partially demolished with the expansion of the I-35 frontage road after being acquired by TxDOT. So the applicant is looking to redesign the property, and in doing so, will need to meet the I-35 overlay standards. Staff has reviewed the plans, and the following 3 alternative standards would be required. The first would be to allow for 3 parking spaces in lieu of the required 52. So the I-35 overlay requires 1 space per 300 square feet, which is 52 spaces. Customers generally at this public storage facility, though, they're going to be parking outside of the buildings that they are going to be storing their things at, whether they're picking them up or dropping them off. So the 3 spaces that they're looking to put there on the site are really going to be used for the office, and with the customers coming in and out, typically they're not going to be using those spaces. They're just going to be parking wherever they're storing their stuff. The second would be to reduce the required storefront glazing on Building A from 40% to 26%, and on Buildings B and Building C from 40% to 0%. So the 40% to 26% on Building A, that is going to be their office building, so they will be providing some windows for it. And the I-35 requires 40% glazing for the ground floor. For Buildings B and C, those are going to be storage buildings, so they don't want to have windows going into people's units, so that would be why they would not have those windows on those buildings. And in lieu of the glazing, the applicant is replicating window patterns with building materials. The third one would be to reduce the required driveway spacing from 300 feet to 8 feet to the north and 300 feet to 172 feet to the south. The applicant is requesting to use the existing driveway there, Cross-access from adjacent properties is not currently available, though the applicant is providing an easement to allow future cross-access as sites to the north and south develop. And really quick, I apologize, I did not show the plans that they have for the elevations. So here you can see that on that office building that they are providing some windows there, and that they're going to provide those building materials that would take the place of where those windows would go. If you all have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Joe. Commissioners, any discussion or questions on this item?
Is this a gated property or?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, if not, may I have a motion on this item, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the alternative standards.
Motion by
second.
Robert. Second by Ryan. Vote now. Motion passes 5-0.
Chairman Mixa, this item will appear on the city council agenda for final action on Monday, December 19th, 2022 at 7:00 p.m. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Okay, and the final item on the overlay district board is adjournment. May I have a motion, please?
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Karen,
Second.
second by Alvin. Vote now. Motion passes 5-0. Overlay district board is adjourned. And the final item for tonight is the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee. Go ahead and call that to order now, and we do have a quorum present. The first item tonight is to select a chair and a vice chair. We'd like to do this in one motion if we could, please. So if you would make a motion to nominate a chair and vice chair in your nominations, that would be helpful.
Move to nominate Mary Ellen for chair and Ryan for vice chair. Sorry, Ryan didn't ask you.
Motion by Karen,
Second.
second by Alvin. Okay. Vote, please. Motion passes. We have myself as chair and Ryan as vice chair. Thank you. Okay, next item is to approve the minutes of the April 19th, 2022 Capital Improvements Advisory Committee. And if we have no additions or corrections to these minutes, may I have a motion for these minutes, please?
Move to approve.
Motion by Karen,
Second.
second by Robert. Vote now. Motion passes 5-0. And finally, receive a presentation on the semi-annual report for the period of April 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2022, and consider acceptance of the report and forward it to the City Council for review.
Good evening, Capital Improvements Advisory Committee. My name is Kelly Rouse. I'm the Assistant Director for Public Services. I'll be giving the updated report for the impact fee that we've recovered during this time period. I'm filling in for Mr. Keith Marvin. He's the Director of Public Services. He's currently on military leave, active duty right now, and so we thank him for his service. So tonight you get me. So.
And I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, please.
Kelly Rouse.
Kelly Rouse, okay, thank you.
I'm just going to scroll through here. There we go. So the purpose of this report, in accordance with Chapter 395 of the Texas Local Government Code, this committee is advised or is tasked with advising and assisting the city in adopting land use assumptions. It provides periodic review of the impact fee and capital improvement plans. It also monitors and evaluates the implementation of the capital improvement plan, prepares semi-annual reports evaluating the progress of capital improvements, as well as the impact fees. And finally, advising the city of the need to update and revise the land use assumptions, land use assumption plan, the capital improvements plan, and the impact fees. So a little bit of background. In 1986, the city of Lewisville adopted the capital recovery fee program. That was followed in 1987 by the state of Texas enacting legislation that required or expanded the impact fee requirements to those municipalities or Texas cities. 1988, the city of Lewisville modified that impact fee program to keep in accordance with Senate Bill 336. And finally, there was a formal adoption by City Council in 1990. And one of the biggest pieces to this legislation is that we do have to make updates to not only the land use assumptions, capital improvements, plans, but also the impact fee study every 5 years. That's the big one. So this one, the latest land use assumption, impact fee, and capital improvement plan were done in 2018. And 2023 is coming around the corner here shortly, so we should have, at the next meeting, we should have another consultant on board to perform those assessments for us. But as mentioned earlier, so in 2017, the city entered into a contract with Freese & Nichols to perform that land use assumption as well as perform population projections for the city. That was then followed by the capital improvement plans on the water and the wastewater side. We enlisted Burkhoff, Hendricks, and Carter to perform that master plan update. And then that in turn was then used to update the impact fee study that we had in 2018. That was all formally approved on September 17th in 2018, and then that was slotted or enacted to start on November 1st, 2018. So what all is included in that capital improvements plan on the water system side? So we have a series of projects. So we have water supply projects, we have water treatment projects, high service pump station projects, ground storage tanks, elevated storage tanks, water distribution and transmission lines, and water system planning expenses. All of those projects were included in making that or formulating that calculation for those impact fees. So real quick, and it's on the report on page 4 here, but there's just kind of a summary of all of the projects that they analyzed in that 20-year assessment or that 20-year period for the capital improvement plan. And that's that at the bottom of that table, that $150 million number there. So of that $150 million, $45.9 million is directly attributable to growth. And so those projects we can assess that capital improvement or impact fee on those specific projects. So impact fees can only be levied on new improvement that serves new or capacity improvements that serve new development, and rehabilitation projects or repair projects or replacement projects are not included in that assessment there. So. The engineering evaluation report, which was performed by Burkhoff, Hendricks, and Carter for that 2018 to 2028 impact fee review period, includes all this detailed information. On the water side is in Appendix A, and on the wastewater side is in Appendix B. And segueing into the wastewater side, so on the wastewater side, the capital improvements plan, the following items were included in that calculation of the impact fee for the wastewater system. So that included our wastewater treatment facility here in Lewisville, lift station and force mains, wastewater collection lines, system planning expenses as well, just like the water side. And same thing here. You had a total of $194 million. Of that $194 million, there was $69 million that were projects that were directly attributable to growth or requiring excess capacity to serve that new development. Also, we have existing facilities that were overbuilt at some point in time, and they're removing essentially capacity from those existing facilities. So we're trying to recover those fees for that capital that we invested in those projects. So how is a capital recovery fee ultimately determined? So they're based upon living unit equivalents, or LUEs, and they're all subject to the meter sides that provide service to that unit. So an example, a 3/4 inch meter is equivalent to 1 LUE, and a 1 inch meter is equivalent to 1.7, and all the way up there. So the recovery fees from this impact fee study, so on the water side, the fee would be $2,614, and on the wastewater side, it would be $2,724. That LUE is basically a factor that you multiply those by, and that's how you get those subsequent calculations in that table on page 5 there. And now, to get to really just the kind of the meat and potatoes of the update and what has really changed, that report is fairly standard. You see this semi-annually, but the biggest change from April 1st through September 30th, 2022, at those rates that were adopted on effective November 1st, 2018. The capital recovery fees collected for water totaled $1,373,498 plus the accrued interest of $4,426.83. And on the wastewater side, capital recovery fees collected totaled $1,161,789. Oops, go to this next page there. Oops. Plus accrued interest of $3,830.17. And then below that is a table of new construction starts. So there were 255 single-family construction starts in this time period, 16 commercial, 6 commercial shell buildings. Really, those probably should be combined into a single unit there. And finally, 6 multifamily new construction starts. So below that table is the apartment complexes that actually had buildings that had permits issued to those buildings. So there's 3 apartment complexes. Look like there's multiple buildings, and of those buildings, there's multiple dwelling units within those buildings as well. That's predominantly the update on the fees that were ultimately collected during this time frame. I do want to take some time and talk about the progress on the wastewater side, and the progress we're making on the plant side of things. So we completed a master plan a number of years ago for the plant at our wastewater facility, and out of that master plan came 11 projects. So project number 1 was an electrical improvements project. We are about 90% design. We've kind of pumped the brakes on it a little bit. We are attempting to acquire transformers. I think there's about 8 transformers that we're trying to acquire. As you know, or as you probably heard, construction and acquisition of materials is taking a very, very long time. So we're trying to pre-purchase these before we actually go into construction. So they'll actually be in the process of being manufactured, ultimately shipped on site before we move into construction. We're expecting to move in construction probably about beginning of summer of 2023 next year. But it all depends on the lead times of those transformers. So that's project number 1. Project number 2 is the aeration basin expansion at the wastewater plant. Mr. Marvin did do a presentation on this, I think that 2 meetings ago. And this is the most capital-intensive piece in terms of the expansion for the wastewater plant. We have selected a consultant. We had a kickoff meeting recently, and we've had an equipment selection meeting, and another meeting is just seeing some hurdles that we're anticipating coming down the line. So we expect to be roughly reviewing that 30% design probably at the end of February, early March of next year, and should have an update for you at the next CIAC meeting. With that said, I'll jump back into the report and just conclude with the City of Lewisville has not reported any written complaints or perceived inequities or inadequacies in regard to the capital improvements plan or the impact fee requirements. The current impact fee program is in compliance with Chapter 395 of the Texas Local Government Code. And with that, I'll ask if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer anything.
Commissioners, are there any questions? Ryan, you have a quizzical look on your face. No question?
No, I was 6 of the multifamily starts, and those are when the permits were issued in the last, 4 to 6 months?
Yes, from April to September.
And was that the bulk of that 1 million fee, I'm guessing?
Correct. And it has to deal with those dwelling units that are
Dwelling units.
associated with each building.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
With that said, I'll hand it back over to
All right.
Ms. Chairwoman for consideration and acceptance of the report.
All right, thank you, Kelly. Since there are no questions from commissioners, any discussion at all? Okay, I would entertain a motion then to consider acceptance of this report and forwarding it to the city council for review.
Move to accept the report and forward it to city council for review.
Motion by Karen,
Second.
second by Alvin. Vote now. Motion passes 5-0. And our final on the agenda tonight is adjournment. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Alvin,
Second.
second by Robert. Vote now. Motion passes 5-0. We are adjourned.